Went to this place in France. What they did was they didn't give us these small Gougeres. They gave us them, and they were large, about the size of your fist. And it's the only place where I've seen them like this, and I haven't been able to find a recipe that does them large. So this is how I think they make big Gougeres. Okay, so when we got the Gougeres, they kind of look like they've been put into some sort of a container, like a bun tin or something like that. But the way that I've done it is, I found, I mean, we had these they're like things for putting on your, you know, making fried eggs on a barbecue or something like that. So anyway, I've used those, and what I've done is basically just got a piece of butter, because these Gougeres, they're going to try and stick to the sides of these things here. And originally what I did was I just basically used these to use butter to just stop it from sticking, but it didn't work. It worked okay, but it didn't work great. So I've come up with this other method of putting some breadcrumbs on here. So what you do is make sure that you get as much butter as you can, and make sure you get it on the tops as well, on here, because I'll stick to that anywhere you think it's going to stick. And then make yourself a piece of toast, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to make breadcrumbs out of the toast. Okay, so I've got to thank the Hairy Bikers for this recipe of how to make breadcrumbs. And what they've done is they said, right, get some toast and then whack it into one of these kind of food processor or whatever. This is like a, I don't know, NutriBullet or something like that, right? Just whack it in there. And then basically you've got your breadcrumbs. And yeah, like I say, that's not my idea. It was a recipe that I saw on the Hairy Biker show, and it's just the best way of making breadcrumbs. I mean, it's just brilliant. Okay, so what you want to do now is you take your breadcrumbs, and this is going to basically be hopefully the thing that's going to allow your Gougeres to rise and not stick while they're cooking, but also not stick when you're trying to get them out of the out of these fried egg things, really. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got the breadcrumbs all inside there, and then hopefully we'll have it so it's all nice so they don't stick together. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to make the Gougeres. So what I've got is I've got a pan here, and I don't want to be patronised or anything, but it's like a non-stick one. And the reason why it's non-stick is because what we're going to do is we're going to do some whisking, and that is going to muck up your non-stick pans if you do that. So this is where we just add in our water, and we just wait for it to come to a boil. Now, what I'm going to do is we're just going to put a little bit of salt in here, and the reason for that is not necessarily as much for flavouring, but what happens is that it means that the boiling temperature of the water gets higher, and yeah, and then that helps with the cooking process. Okie dokie, so we've got our water's just got on the boil, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add the butter, and then we're going to whisk that real quick, okay? And basically we're making, I don't know, you call it a choux pastry, I guess. Because what we're going to do is we're going to add the butter to that, and then we're going to whisk it up real quick into there and get it cooking. Alright, so I guess that's just about done. A bit of a tip is that when you actually got the butter, to cut up into cubes, and then this phase will go a little bit quicker. Okay, so I'm just going to whack them in there, and you can see it's boiling up, so I'm going to have to give that a real good stir straight away. So what I don't want it to do is I don't want it to burn on the bottom of the pan. Okay. So I've got myself one of these little privets. The fact is that probably is starting to catch on there, but at least it's not burning. then what will happen is, yeah, there you go. So it starts coming to this boil. It starts coming into a big lump like this. And that's kind of what you want, all right? Okay. So the next thing we've got to do, and this is really important, is that we want to put this into a bowl. I like to recommend you get the bigger bowl as possible because that will just help you later on. And then what we'll do, just put that in there. We want the flour mixture to be much cooler when we cook it. And this is just a quicker way of doing it. So what I'll do is I'm just going to put this down in here. So it's still quite warm to touch, but yeah, give that a couple of minutes and we'll be fine. So like I said, when we went to this place in France, they had this, and they called it an aperitif. Now I'd only ever known a drink to be an aperitif before, but this is what they sort of suggested as a snack, I suppose. So if you've got some friends coming around and you are doing that little bit of a martini, cocktail, whatever is your, whatever you want to do, then make some of these, impress your friends, see what they think to them. Okay, so because we're taking that out of the pan, I've only let that cool for, I don't know, 3-4 minutes or something like that, 5 minutes. You can leave it longer if you want. And then what we want to do is we want to get our eggs, and just one at a time, we want to just mix them in, okay? And then again, I'm going to use my whisker, and what will happen is this will start turning into, it'll look like scrambled eggs. And the reason why we're using the whisker is because basically we want to get as much of the egg into as much of the pastry as possible, because then that's going to be what's going to help us sort of like lift, make it rise. So this is still the first egg, but what's happening is it started off looking like it was scrambled eggs, and now it's all starting to come together again. And that's the time when you want to put in the second egg, and we just start whisking away again. I'm gonna have to make sure I don't know, do some crunchies before I do this again. So your whisker, I found your whisker only gets you so far. You put in the second egg now, and it's starting to get a little bit. It's a little bit slacker, obviously, after the second egg because there's twice as much mixture in there. But now what we're going to do is going to put a Gruyere cheese in. Now, I've tried this with cheddar, and it's all right, but I found that it was just like a little bit greasier. As Gruyere cheese is what is the one that the original recipes say to use, and I found that it does work better. But you can use other stuff, but of course, just try what you like. But the only thing I would say is, it does get a bit greasy if you use some other cheeses, and I don't know, maybe you just don't get the right amount of rise or something like that from it. But yeah, I'll try with Gruyere first, but if you can't get hold of it, some other kind of firmer cheese, yeah, should work okay. Okay, so I've moved on to 2 metal spoons now. And what I'm going to do is just dollop these up evenly as I can into the, I guess I'm going to call them ramekins, but yeah. Okay, so there we go. We've got our 4 Gougères, and they just need to go in the oven now. So I'll put them in the oven. I've got a gas, it's got a fan oven on, and it's 190 degrees that I'll put in there. And I'll check them in about 15 minutes. Okay, so they've been in the oven for about 10 minutes now, and they're raising pretty good, but it's a little bit like a Yorkshire pudding. If you take it out now, then it'll just flatten. So what we want to do is we want to give that a little bit longer, and ideally leave it in there as long as we can before they start burning. So I reckon that's gonna be another 5-6 minutes. Okay, so we've got these cooked. They look just about right to me. If the breadcrumbs has worked, we should be able to just lift these out. These are fucking hot though. Okay, so we've got our Gougères, they're puffed up real nice. Made ourselves a couple of Vesper martinis. Recipe for that later. Slice of lemon for me. Ice cube for my wife. And there you have Gougères, big Gougères.